I'm sorry about that. Let's turn an R7 into the R8 with one trick that doctors hate, and that is the speed booster. But before we get into the speed boosting, why is this title turn your R7 into an R8?
The algorithm.
But to be honest, the R7 and the R8 are pretty much priced the same. So I feel like there's going to be people who are going to be like, do I choose this camera? Do I choose that camera? And personally, I believe the R7 is the better camera. The R7 has IBIS, you have dual slot memory, and you have a bigger battery life. And the R8 has the better advantage in terms of it's a full frame sensor, so it has full frame benefits like better in low light, better shallow depth of field, and one thing that doesn't hurt is that it shares the same sensor as the R6 Mark II. But to be honest, the features that I mentioned about the R7 is the reason why I choose the R7 over the R8. My name is David Cabra, and today we're going to talk about what's a speed booster, why you should get one, the one that I specifically have, and my final thoughts and opinions. If you guys like the video, go ahead and like the video, and we'll get back into speed boosting. So the one that I'm using is the Viltrox EF to R3 adapter. And the reason why I picked this one is because simply it is the adapter that goes for the RF system. So how does a speed booster work? It's pretty straightforward. It's a magnifying glass, and it also has electronic bits that help your autofocus work with your lenses. The one that I have is a 0.71 magnifier. I'm pretty sure that's probably the max that you can get, but don't quote me on that. The one that I have is a 0.71. And the crop sensor of the R7 is 1.64. So if you put those things together, that gives you a new image of 1.15, which is pretty close to the full frame image that we all know and love. Editor today here, one thing that I forgot to mention is I picked this up at eBay for $240. Back in the day, it used to be easier to go through other camera stores and other online stores, but nowadays it feels like that's just the place to go. Also, if it's not so clear why you should get a speed booster, it's because it just makes your camera into a full frame image. So let's get back to the video. Now that we talked about how it works, I'm going to show you how you guys put it together. You have your adapter, you have your camera, and bam. After that, you get your desired lens, and bam. The main lenses that I use for this setup is the L series EF 16-35 2.8 Mark II and the lens that's actually on this body right now, which is the Tamron G2 24-70 2.8. The main reason why I use these lenses, it's because I'm broke. RFL glass is just way too expensive, and the price that I got these, it's still a lot cheaper than just one L series glass. So I got the 16-35 for $600, and I got the 24-70 for $700. They're both used, but if you put that together, it's still a lot cheaper than the RFL 15-35, which is $1,700. And well, you guys can do the math. $600, $700, still pretty cheaper. Now that I talked about my lenses, we can talk about the other lenses that you can use with the speed booster. Unfortunately, you can only use EF glass. You can't really use EFS glass with the speed booster. There's ways that you can modify the EFS lenses, but I don't think it's worth it. The good thing that you can use EF glasses is, well, it's been around forever. It was Canon's main lens mount for the longest time, so you can go back and get all these amazing lenses that existed beforehand. I personally recommend that you stick to zoom lenses like the 16-35, 24-70, and even the 70-200. You can use prime lenses if you want, but I think zoom lenses is probably the best bang for your buck. Some people are going to give you shit that you're using older glass and you're not a true shooter, you're not a true videographer, you're not a true photographer if you don't use the most expensive RF lenses. For the most part, your audience isn't going to notice, and I can argue that people are still using the EF glass on different systems. You have the C70, the GH6, and even people use EF glass on Blackmagic cameras. So you don't have to worry about them. They can go to heck. All right, ignore those guys. Are there any alternatives to the Viltrox? And there is. There is the Metabones for $420 all the way to $450, and you have Canon's own for $600. The main reason why I stuck with the Viltrox, it's because of price. I mainly use this for indoors, so I don't have a huge need to spend more money on the speed booster. One thing that I've noticed on the Canon speed booster is in certain situations where you have direct light hitting the lens, you get a little purple fringe, a purple dot, and I don't really get that with the Viltrox, so it's another reason why I stick with the Viltrox. Before I close this video out, is there any cons with the Viltrox? And yes, and it's one major con that just absolutely annoys me. You have to make sure that this doesn't wiggle out. The The adapter itself doesn't fit all the way tight. So if you're running and gunning like I normally do, sometimes the adapter wiggles out and you lose autofocus. I didn't really notice this issue with my GH5 because you're kind of forced to use it in manual focus. So when I bought the Viltrox, it's just something that I have to be mindful of. But for 240 bucks, I can't really complain. Now we're going to hit to the final thoughts. Do I recommend this for you? I'm never going to give you a straight answer because everyone's situation is, and it just kind of depends. If you're going to use it for in studio, hell yeah, I recommend it. Outdoors, sure, you just have to be careful of that little tidbit that I mentioned. But if you want to mess with one, go ahead. Hopefully this encourages you to try one out. I think this is a good solution if you already have the R7 and you want to turn it into a full frame, or if you're deciding if you want to go with the R7 or the R8. Both are great cameras, so I'm not going to be like, you got the R8, you're a hecking loser. No, that's not the point. I think the R7 is a better camera, and I just want to show you a tool that you could expand the R7 just a little bit more. And with that, we hit the end of the road. My name is David Cabra. If you like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. My channel focuses on photography and video, so if that's your jam, hell yeah man, hang out with me and watch more of my videos. And one thing that I wanted to mention is that the channel finally hit over 100 subscribers. That is a huge milestone. I just expected my mom and my best friend to watch this stuff, so shout out to you guys. I really appreciate it. This is more of a passion project for me, so the fact that people watch, amazing. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye. Fix my tie or kiss me goodbye. Swear I'm happy on my own. No one to worry where I am, or waiting for me to come home. Staying up till 3 a.m.